Okay. Let's give it 1 or 2 more minutes then.
Okay.
Oh, and we got a little pop-up on our side, Malia, that says this meeting is being live streamed.
Yeah. Wow.
So great work.
We did it.
Oh, and we got a little pop-up on our side, Malia, that says this meeting is being live streamed.
Wow.
So great work. We did it. Oh, and we got a little pop-up on our side, Malia, that says this meeting is being live streamed. So great work. We did it. Oh,
Terrifying.
where did that come from?
The projector.
Oh, interesting. I wonder, you're on the meeting owl, right? You might need to toggle the audio back over to owl.
It's on the owl too. I just turned the volume down on that one. That's so weird.
That was really creepy. I'm very sorry.
So I'll wait till 5 after, so 2 more minutes and then we'll start and we won't get that far along.
Aaron, will you share the agenda packet, please, with me? And I can present it on the screens.
Oh, sure. Sorry, you weren't on that. Not bad.
Okay.
Aaron,
Yes?
my folder says it's empty.
Oh no, which one?
Well, so far the renewable energy. Oh, wait, no, there it came up. Never mind. I don't know. That was weird.
Malia, I shared all of October with you, so you'll have to dig into October 14th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, let me know if that is still an issue.
Perfect. Here it is.
And Malia, you're also running the recorder, right?
Yep.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. It's 4:05 p.m. Today is Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. This is the Bluff Town Council work session. Roll call.
Linda Sosa, Luann Hook,
Jennifer Davila,
Ann Lepinen.
Aaron Nelson, serving as town manager.
I know that Britt Hornsby is on his way in, so why doesn't somebody let me know when he appears? The first item is to review and discuss draft ordinances. And I'm going to emphasize these are draft. They have not gone through attorney review, and some of them have not gone to public hearing. So on recreational vehicles, that is still sitting with Chris McEnany. So I'm going to give us some options. Does the council want to look through the recreational vehicle, knowing it's going to come back to us with changes? Because there were code changes that also had to be made within the rest of our ordinances, and Chris was double checking all of those. Or do you want to go ahead and discuss recreational vehicles now? Any thoughts?
I'd say if we have time after we've discussed all the others, do it. Otherwise, just table it till later.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same with renewable energy. Malia did both recreational vehicles and renewable energies get passed off to us. And then I know they've both gone to Chris.
Through planning and zoning, were they both passed off to you? Is that the question?
That is the question.
Yes.
But I think I understood your question as being, did they get passed to the attorney?
I passed them to the attorney, so I know they did.
Okay.
Yes. So I know that they did. So let's hold that as well. Oh. The cemetery, I went through and made changes, as did Aaron, based on our conversation at the last work session on cemeteries. Has everybody had a chance to go through and look at these? And then I just had a couple questions that I noted. So let's be sure we've all looked at that ordinance. I'll do it another way. Is there anybody who hasn't had a chance to read through the draft? Okay, so there was one big dangling part, and that dangling big piece was whether some of these items, such as the direction of graves, or how large the lots were, those types of things, I went through and confirmed that all of these are within local control. So how we design the cemetery layout, or the hours, or the days, or the number of burials, the number of cremations, those are all within local control, which got to an interesting point, which is the exhuming body, apparently, which is at the very, very end in section 6.7.140. There is no local process, meaning San Juan County does not do the interment or the interment permit. The town does the permit, and what we're encouraged to do is refer people to the services of a Utah licensed mortuary. So before this is finalized, that will be one question that I want to be sure we're on solid ground, but everything diverted, including that, to local control, and then there was nothing in San Juan County's ordinances. It referred to the local mortuary. So that was one area that I left untouched, the way we talked about sizes and numbers of people. There was, let me see what my notes are. If you look at 6.7.80, ordering a grave opening, Aaron had added a piece talking about, had made a note about this 48 hours, a good time or prior notice that you need to excavate a burial spot. And again, this is local control. We can do it however we want. I added in here what we talked about, that we would maintain a list of contractors who have authority to open and close graves. And then I added in my handwriting that's not in here. I made a note to myself to add, and charge according to the contractor's fee schedule. We wouldn't be setting that fee. The question I had, where it says on line 5, the Bluff Town sexton must be contacted 48 hours prior. Some religions and practices require burying much more quickly than 48 hours, but I couldn't think of a way to reword that. Does anybody have a suggestion? Because I think we want to be respectful. We'll do it the sexton would do it as soon as possible, subject to the families or whoever's wishes, but I struggled with trying to find an appropriate sentence, unless we want to stick with the 48 hours or longer. So what are people's thoughts about that?
Maybe you could say something like a grave will be opened. You know, something to that effect, but I mean, because they might be able to find one of those contractors on the list that could open it sooner.
So what about something similar to a grave will be opened as soon as reasonably possible?
Or as soon as requested, yeah,
Based on availability
yeah, that'd be good.
of an approved contractor.
Yeah, that gives more options and
Right. Okay, so I've got that note in there. Um, there were also discussions in B under 6.7.90, scheduling services or interment. They must be arranged through the sexton at least 48 hours in advance. Should I put in similar language into that as opposed to saying at least 48 hours?
I think so.
Either that or just drop the 48 hours and then it would just say it has to be arranged with the sexton.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
That's
just take
good.
in advance of the time set.
Perfect. All right. Then 6.7.100, interment allowed in one grade. I left this as we had it originally drafted because the questions were initially from all of us like, is this controlled by Utah law or some other public health law? So if everyone could just skim through that and make sure that you feel like this is appropriate, or if you want to change it. Chris also has this one, but I'd already gone through several reviews, so I felt like we could talk about this now, and I'll just ask him where he is when we see him tomorrow on all of these. I had a question about B, double depth burials. That's up to the town whether we permit them or not. And we never,
Be our reason not to. I mean, I don't suppose there's a big demand for that, but what would be our reason not to?
I think the only reason that I can think of is practicality, like can you really go deep enough to do double burials? But
I think we probably could, and due to our limited space up there,
so I'll take out
Just
the word
you
not.
could just take it out. You could just take B completely out.
No, we have to have something that says what double, if we have to either say yes or no, because what we're gonna run into then is somebody who wants to do a double depth burial, and we don't have anything in the ordinance. So just take out the word not, shall be permitted. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah,
So then that kind of changes C as well. Okay,
just change it to 2 caskets.
Yep.
And so I guess my question would be, can you then open a grave, like one is buried at a certain depth, and then would somebody be allowed to open that grave and put another one on top, like 6 months later or a year later or
Yes,
whenever?
yes. You just can't remove the one that's in there because then you'd be exhuming it. So,
Yeah, I can see that people would maybe want to do that.
okay, then moving to 6.7.110, we don't have a separate section designated for cremation plots. And when I was doing the research, you don't need to have a separate section. But it also occurred to me that a number of the lots have already been sold, and people may know that they may plan on being cremated, they may not be cremated. I don't know that we really need to designate a specific section or the plot size and just let it continue as it is. Does anybody have a strong feeling about keeping this in or out?
So can you just remove the whole section?
Yes.
That's what I would do.
The only reason that I could see it being necessary is if somebody knew that they only wanted a cremation plot and it was a significantly smaller piece of land that was less expensive.
Okay. So we could designate a spot.
Mm-hmm.
2 feet by 2 feet seem to be the kind of the industry standard. So though we'll need to make adjustments to the fee schedule anyway. So we could just keep it in.
So would it be do you see it being a whole separate area, or like, could you just take a couple of plots and make it, like, there's quite a bit of room on those. What do you see? Just like another area of the cemetery?
You could probably take a couple of the already designated but not claimed spots and make them smaller. But there's a section out that's a little beyond where the burials are, that because you wouldn't be going that deep for a cremation urn or a cremation vessel. That might be a really good question when we're getting the survey done and looking at how we could do this so that people have a choice if they want to have a cremation, just pay for less space. I'm sure that this firm that specializes in cemeteries can maybe answer that question.
Quick pause. It's 4:19 and Britt just walked in.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. Let me just make a note. All right, we're working on the cemetery district ordinance right now, Brett.
Okay.
And we're holding off any discussion on the recreational vehicles and renewable energy for the end of the meeting if we have some time.
Okay.
So section 6.7.110 ties in pretty closely to 6.7.120 B on cremation monuments. And then A talks about identification of graves. There is no requirement that graves be marked or with what type of marker. But when you go, like if I were to purchase and use a burial plot, the information that should be recorded with the state does require knowing where the marker is and what the marker says. So I think the best practice is that there be a marker. But in A, identification of graves, we talked about, did it have to be any particular material, or where did it have to be placed? And there's no requirement. So what would people like to see this paragraph say? And I think in C, and C down below, I added that if we have markers required, that the permanent one should go on within 365 days after interment. So that's subject to discussion too. So reading A and C together, what do people want?
I don't see any reason to require it.
You don't
We
see,
have to require any sort of marker really, because you're gonna know where people are because of our survey and whatnot. So doesn't serve any purpose really. If somebody doesn't want it marked.
so let's assume that those people who have a longer history in Bluff know where people are buried. If there's no marker, then you think relying just on the survey, how do we address the issue with recording with the state? What's on the marker?
Did you make it a small, like flat? Just simple marker?
Oh, yeah, that's what it just has to be something permanent. Have you ever been to the grave sites that have, like, I'm holding up my hands, just like something this size that's just flat metal?
Right, but it says down below that you're gonna charge the people that are getting buried, and the ones, like you say, if there's some up there that aren't marked right now, you're gonna add something to them. So maybe some little, real simple something. I mean, how much, I guess I'm not sure exactly what you said about what the state requires. If
So
they ever,
the state has a form that gets filled out that within X number of days or weeks after interment that says this is where the person is buried, this is the information about the person, this is where there's a marker, the plot number and all of that. At this point, going back in time and trying to cover people's graves with specific markers, I don't know that's what we're talking about. It's moving forward. So it can just be something handmade, placed on the grave. But are you saying that you don't think anything, that it needs to be marked at all? Because I think it does need to be marked. But I'm only one person.
well, this says that it has to be marked with a permanent marker made of metal, stone, or cement.
But that's what, I think I already, maybe I didn't. It's been a long week already. We could take out the material. I think we already talked about, we don't care what the material is. So if somebody put in a small flat plate just with, who's there, that pretty much covers it, because the other records will cover, the record keeping would cover date of death and interment.
I like the idea of having a marker because it's just if nothing else, it's just an extra safeguard in my mind that if we go up there and there is a marker on a plot or something like that, we know that it's being used. We can avoid some of the problems that we've already had.
Yeah.
The other piece is, just from the record keeping part of it. Let's say you have somebody who gets interred there, there's no marker. 2 years go by, they had a suspicious death. Now somebody comes up with a new way of testing. They think it's a murder. They're going to exhume it. Where is that person? Well, they're supposed to be in this plot because this is what the plot records say. But I personally, from a record keeping, I think there just needs to be a permanent marker, and no control over size, whatever material.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that as long as there's not like a cost barrier, or a cultural barrier for requiring people to do it. I think it makes sense.
Yeah. There's nothing that would prevent someone from, making their own marker. And that, I think, probably take care of any question of cost. But I think,
Yeah, removing the materials would
Yeah.
help with that. So, and the size. So, I'm fine with leaving that in and removing the materials.
Okay, so then,
We want to have a maximum size though,
I'm sorry, you want to have a what size?
maximum size.
Let's see. It has to be adequately accommodated within the size limits of the plot. So does that, I wonder if that means, so are we talking about what, height, length? Could you cover
Is
the
it
whole
a
thing?
From the side.
I don't know. I just feel like we have some really big markers up there already.
But if you think about the sign ordinance, it's kind of a sign.
It does say that the form and size of the monument or marker shall be within the discretionary approval of the cemetery board. In the last sentence. But, so if somebody, if you want a minimum, we can put that in. I
I
just
don't
need,
know if we need a minimum. I just,
or a maximum, I mean.
maximum.
Whatever.
I don't know.
What does that sentence mean? It means that all of them need to be approved then?
When we write the cemetery board bylaws, they'll kind of answer the question, would they want to see all of them? Would you just want to see ones? I don't know. Since I haven't worked on bylaws yet, that's a good question. So if you look at B, that kind of gives some sense of cremation monument sign. So cremation burials, it limits it to 1 by 1, which is really pretty big. 1 foot by 1 foot in a 2 foot by 2 foot plot.
Yeah.
I
really-
do know a cremation burial up there that's a husband and wife. And they wanted, to be together in their vessels touching.
Oh. That's sweet. That's very sweet.
Just your.
That's very sweet. So, and then they have like a larger,
It's still pretty small, but it's bigger than 1 foot by 1 foot, I think.
and I guess I don't have a problem with it taking up the entire space since it's only 2 by 2, but I don't know.
But then
I'm not
the
gonna-
guy next to you.
You build up.
Gotta
we-
have the, you gotta have the setbacks.
Could we say not to exceed the size of the plot?
That's
It
a good
says-
one.
I mean, that way you're not spilling over into somebody else's space is kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. That sounds like one way to do it. All right, then D in that same section on semi-permanent memorials and vegetations. I just removed all the things that we didn't feel necessary and that was kind of left with this. So I'm not sure that this is what we want. Definitely interference with other plots, that would be a criteria. But the right to plant shrubs, flowers, or other semi-permanent memorial items. Do we care? Do we want to leave that in or take that out?
I don't think we care.
It just says without the approval of the sexton. So if somebody wants to plant something, then they go to the sexton and they say yes or no, or they say, no, you can't plant this whole entire thing with shrubs.
So just leave it as it is.
I would say so. It's not saying that they can't do it. They just have to check with somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no weeds.
Playing Campbell going on.
Can't go, yeah, you can't go put a Russian knapweed patch on somebody's.
Noxious weeds.
So, can we
Don't
just
put
pop
heads
back?
on anybody's grave.
Yeah, go ahead, make those pretty yellow balls. Keeps people from walking. I have one question back to Jen's question about the size of the monuments. What I could see is somebody doing something really tall and then putting lights on it or whatever,
Well, we addressed lights in E.
and for dark sky, but there's a lot of lights that could be dark sky compliant that would still be lights.
So tell us what you're
Well,
suggesting.
I'm picturing somebody doing a monument that's sort of like, say, the Washington Monument a spire that's say 6 feet tall.
Okay.
And then putting a light on top that shines down or something like that that's where I think the size, maybe a height or something. Because you need the setbacks around each grave so that they're not blocking the next grave and travel through and that kind of thing, but I don't know, maybe a height.
So what would you suggest for a height?
It's normal. I mean, 3 feet's pretty high. I'm trying to think what's in some, maybe 4 feet even is like a max of 4 feet.
How, do we have any idea? There are some kind of pillar type things up there already. How tall are they?
That's what I'm wondering.
Well, since Malia, Aaron, and I will be doing a cemetery walkthrough next week, we can look.
Okay.
So would we want to maximize it at the tallest in that section?
Well, there aren't any tall ones in our section. We need to look at the ones that are the historic ones and just kind of see for perspective, if you transplanted those over to the new section, how big they would be. But I'm guessing it's somewhere around 4 feet would be plenty.
Okay. We'll take a measuring device up there and do some checking.
Always.
Then if you look at E, that does have the compliance with the exterior lighting ordinance. Then going to,
We want lights up there?
that's what I'm asking, yeah, do you want lights? No memorial lighting?
Like little, aren't there some like little bitty, like solar light things? I mean, I'm fine with
Already
saying
have
no.
some up there that have lights.
They can go up in the daytime if they want to read stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of a no light person.
Yeah, I'm fine with no lights.
I'm fine with it.
I think it's fine. Oh, if anything, solar lights, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, if I were, running the cemetery, I would much rather have it dark all the way across and not having the red lights and the green lights, whether they're down shielded or not. It just seems like it should be a dark place.
Well, that can be your next job, Lou, running the cemetery. I agree. I just crossed it off. Okay, then going to 6.7.130, conduct and access. So it goes A, B, and then C kind of crept over. C's gonna be bumped to underneath B5 so that it's not disjointed. And I think if you read through this, I think we captured pretty much what we talked about and took out what we didn't want. The biggest question I have is looking at C, which is the animals. A makes, yeah, C1 makes me a little nervous. Animals, including livestock and domestic pets, are permitted. Seems like the
Where
word
is C
livestock.
one? I'm not,
Say, go to B5.
oh yeah, yeah, okay, I see it, yep,
Yeah. So
Okay.
C's gotta, that's
Yep.
gotta move over. It's gotta be repaginated.
Yeah.
The word, I I don't know, is it, including the word livestock makes me nervous because I picture somebody taking cows through or something.
The reason that we put the livestock back in was to address Gary's concern of what if somebody wants to take a wagon team up for burial or something like that.
So if you look at number 6 that was added,
Ah, yes, okay.
I think that covers what Gary Haas was talking about and what we all seem to agree. Yes, we would want that.
But the upper one is if somebody's walking through with a horse, leading them, whatever, I don't know. Are we talking, I mean, it should stay within the road, staying on the roads or something like that, but
Yeah, it does say all of that as you read through here. I guess I guess one is okay. The word livestock stands out and it's kind of like
If there were like grazing concerns up there, I'd be worried about it, but seems like such a rare occurrence to have a
Well,
horse.
and we do, I mean, if we have grazing concerns up there, we do have that addressed in number 2 by saying that they have to be under immediate control and on a leash or harness.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's fine to leave it, since it's explained in 6.
it was explained in 2 also,
Yeah.
where they're under immediate control, and it includes reins, harness, verbal, whatever, so.
so.
And
I
it
had-
also, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, number 3 explains it too. It just says shall remain on established drives and walkways. So if somebody's walking through with a dog or, most people with a horse aren't going to go in there anyway, but I think it's pretty clear.
Then I had not gone, I didn't go through those first 2 sections because it was name and purpose and then the definitions, cemetery board. These were all things that we pretty much had discussed before that didn't have any major questions on it to change, either request a change or things that I needed to research. So what we'll need to do, now first, does anybody else have a section they want to talk about or have?
I have a question, and maybe I missed it in here, but who is allowed to be buried and who can buy plots and can they sell them?
So if you look at page, the section 6.7.50, general provisions, there are no restrictions. And thanks for raising that because in C1 and 2, it does talk about 1 certificate per individual sold at a resident price, and that residents can purchase at a resident price. And then it breaks it down into all non-residents shall purchase burial plots at the non-resident's price. And that's part of the fee structure we'll need to address. And yes, you can buy a burial plot and transfer it, but we haven't gotten to the policy of how that works yet. So the 2 questions would be, do you want differential pricing, resident versus non-resident? And then, do you want transferability?
Yeah, I think this looks fine, actually. And the transfer, sell or transfer or give back or, how, I think you had something in here or we talked about at one point, like if not used within a certain amount of time, how do you know that they still want it?
Yeah, so if you look at 6.7.60, it talks about abandoning it through non-use, which is part of the Utah code. That's one of the few things that they control. So under Utah Code 8-5-01, unused or unkept lots. So after 60 years, it's presumed to have been abandoned.
Okay, that's right. I see it now, but yeah, thank you. I remember talking about it.
And so I double checked the years, put the code in, and then there are a number of forms that have to be created. And the forms are a cemetery sexton's job description, a certificate of burial rights, a certificate of transfer of burial rights, a certificate of burial, interment permits, a review of our fee structure, all of which should be coming to you before I'm out of office. So I'm hoping in November, I'll be able to present a full package that backs up the ordinance. But if,
Yeah.
does anybody have any other questions? Otherwise, I'll clean it up. And then when we see our attorney tomorrow, jog his memory as to what's sitting out there that we haven't had reviewed.
Can we include anything about the abandonment that the owner will be notified before it's abandoned and if there's a renewal process?
I will look. I think that that's what the Utah code laid out, but I honestly can't remember. I'm pretty sure the citation to that.
I'm thinking in specifics of like when Faybell bought the plot for both her mother, herself, and I believe Nancy is already scheduled to be up there as well, but I mean, I was thinking if somebody bought like a family plot or multiple plots within a family, something or other, but a small child is quite likely going to outlive a 60-year time period.
I'll double check that, Jen, and if not, I'll try to plug something else into that.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's that section in this same one, 6.7.60 in C, resale and transfer restrictions. It could just be something added there that before it's considered abandoned, or I guess it'd probably be up higher, but before it's considered abandoned, effort will be made to find the owner or something like that, but.
So
And then
I'll look at the
fees.
code. I'm pretty sure that the Utah code went through what it is, but it's been about a month since I've read that. But let me see if we need to add more to it.
And then C has that section there where it tells the town what to do, or, if somebody transfers it, somebody just let the town know, and then the records are brought up to date, so you can transfer them on down if you find you're not going to use it.
Right.
But yeah, I do one with.
Okay. So if
Or
there's
at
any,
the time of transfer, does the 60-year period start over again?
I would think so.
I think so, yeah.
I would imagine it does. But let me pull out the code and actually look at it again. Like I said, it's been a month since I worked on this, so I will send it to everybody. Make sure you look at it because I'll be jogging Chris's memory as to what's outstanding so we can get some of these finalized.
Erin Nelson has her hand raised.
Erin.
Quick question. So I think this is one of the ordinances that we were holding a public hearing on. Is that still the case at the end of October? And in terms of like the updates made today, can I get a copy of those and I can get that uploaded as well?
Yep. Yeah. And one reason yes, we are holding a public hearing on this. The end of October, October 28th, along with hopefully several others. And given that we have, I think, at least 4, 5, maybe 6 that we're trying to get to public hearing, getting at least a basic draft up to Chris to see if there are any clear legal issues, rather than things that are left to us on our discretion. I think it's really important considering the timing of it. So, yes, thanks for, I can't remember all the things that we're trying to put through before the end of the year. So there are two, can we move off of cemeteries, or are there more questions?
I'm good with moving.
Good.
Yeah,
So there are two ordinances that we've talked about. I kind of pulled some stuff together based on what planning and zoning had talked about. And then Aaron did more work on it. So one of them is an ordinance enacting provisions regulating engine brake dynamic braking devices, and another is an ordinance banning the idling of commercial vehicles within the town limits. These are not ready for discussion today, and they're not, I didn't put them on the agenda, but I want to draw your attention to them so that you can be prepared to discuss them in the next 30 days so that we can move these along, probably maybe at even the next meeting. They're short and pretty easy. And there's something that Chris is aware that I made a first stab at the draft. He does have these two as well. So if everyone can look at it, most likely will, because they're short, will go on the agenda for next week. Then the last part to number 1 was policy and procedure revisions. So Luann had after we passed the amendments, and Luann had continued questions on the what's a board, what's a committee, whatever. I put in the red line information and sent this up to Chris as well. So has everybody read it? And other than the redlining that I have in this proposed second amendment draft, are there other things you want me to emphasize to Chris McEnany on this? So you'll see in there that I've asked Chris a couple of questions, like, can people serve on only one board? Are these advisory boards subject to open and public meetings? Act requirements for posting, and then the minimal changes. So if everyone is good with the red line stuff, I will emphasize those tomorrow as well. Okay, if we're ready to move to what?
Sorry, I was saying, it's just not in the packet, is it? Is that what you're saying? No, yeah, I don't have it. But I'm fine with moving on after our last conversation, either way, with those questions.
Yep. So the big piece is a review and discussion of the amended general plan draft. So you should have the red line amended and then a clean copy of the suggested changes. And thank you so much, Aaron and Amanda, planning and zoning, for working on this, because the changes, since we had to work on the general plan to incorporate the airport overlay, there were some other changes that the Hansen group had recommended, and then that Aaron and Amanda worked on. So Aaron, can you just kind of update what you see as the highlights that people need to be looking at to be able, let's see, we have this on for a public hearing as well on October 28th, right?
Correct.
Okay. Why don't you just kind of walk the council through what you feel are really the highlights that they need to be aware of? For information, this was most of my Saturday, trying to look at the red line and the recommended changes, and you all did a fantastic job. So thank you.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot there. I hope you guys can see my screen currently.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
You can see
So
mine.
it
Stop sharing
probably,
if you share.
Oh.
Sorry, you can see my screen. If you want to ask to share, I'll stop.
oh, yeah, that would
Go
be,
ahead.
be good. Does not seem to be letting me do that. That's okay. Malia, would you just share again? And we will.
Here we
Yes.
go. You should be able to now. I changed.
No, still not letting me. That's okay. All right. So I'll just kind of go through on my screen. Malia, if you can share and kind of skip to where I'm talking about, that would be great. So the big thing with the general plan is we didn't want to make any substantial changes that weren't required, that unless they were required by the state code, which we have a few, or recommended by state code, which we have a few. And then a lot of this is just, update to current conditions. And that's really where a lot of the red lines are, or in the community or the current condition sections. So each of the areas has current conditions, planning assumptions, and resulting policies. So some of the areas that the Hansen group recommended we break down. So one was, let's see if I can kind of go through this. So regarding land use and zoning specifically, we need to have a future land use map. And so we're not saying that we're recommending to change any zones right now. It's not what this is saying at all. But we do need to have potential future maps available, and that is for state code. So one of the elements that's missing from this plan right now is the map that planning and zoning work done. I should be able to have a draft out here shortly. But with that, we also have some, just updates. So if you look at the original general plan, we didn't have any of these zones. It talked about kind of like current use back in 2018, 2019. So lots put into the zoning section just to update it to current. Then we had, go down here. Under conservation, we made some changes again to the current conditions and planning assumptions. Transportation, this is where we saw quite a lot of change in just breaking out the non-motorized transportation and active transportation and updating a lot of the current conditions. Not really changes to the planning assumptions or resulting policies, but just updating them to current state. Did add the entire section on the Bluff Airport under transportation, as airports are something that, especially since we're doing the airport overlay zoning as per state code. I added quite a lot here because the original general plan just had like one sentence about the airport. So there's quite a lot there. Going down here, some of the stuff was just moved around to make it more either more cohesive or just flow a little bit better. We, as a town of our size, don't have to have a housing section. There is a moderate income housing section required for larger municipalities, for like class 1 and 2. But it is recommended if we, have policies, especially those that tie into our strategic plan, to kind of outline those. So there was a lot of work put in there, a lot of work put into workforce. because both of those are in the strategic plan. And what the Hansen Group recommended is that, you know, we had done quite a lot of work on the strategic plan, so it's nice to have updates made to the general plan to reflect those changes. The agricultural section needed to be added per the Hansen Group, so that was added as well. There really weren't a whole lot of changes to the heritage and historic preservation, which makes some sense that, you know, those things would kind of remain the same. For health, safety, and infrastructure, that has been updated to reflect the municipal property and infrastructure. So a lot added there. There is kind of a gaping hole under Bluff Cemetery right now. So I just kind of put that in there, and maybe some work needs to be done there. Broke out emergency services and law enforcement from the infrastructure. I felt like those were kind of two different sections under the same section. And then development constraints remained largely the same, but with some additional information about water. I would definitely appreciate, you know, some eyes on water, as I feel like there, you know, could potentially be more data included, or someone with a little bit more history than me adding information there. Preservation of natural space, or natural and open spaces, you find kind of throughout the document. So some of this was just kind of made a little bit more cohesive. Not a lot of change except for formatting regarding the geography, as all of it, at least, you know, as far as I know, most of that has remained the same. And then moving down, so there wasn't an enforcement section. There was, but there wasn't, and that is an area that the Hansen Group recommended that we have. So there is some text moved and kind of rearranged, because it originally was like enforcement and implementation all in the same section. So implementation has been moved to section 8. Enforcement has its own section now, and would probably also be a great one, as enforcement's a large part of the strategic plan, to make sure that this aligns and has some of the longer term goals. Then moving down to implementation, same. This is a rather short section, but I did feel as though it's helpful to have it in kind of its own thing, and it does talk about how a lot of our planning documents work together to facilitate the overall management of the town. And so, you know, if folks want to add stuff there, that would probably be helpful as well. So it's quite lengthy. All the appendices have not been compiled. Most of them are already in there, but it does reference like the future state, as well as like the transportation corridor map. Those are coming either from what planning and zoning created, or like the active transportation plan that had that transportation corridor outlaid. So the appendices still need to be compiled, and they're not part of this document. But with and then like the Class C roads, that was not in the original because we didn't have Class C roads when the document was first formed. So there's some additional things that need to be updated there.
So Aaron, going back to the zoning section, you said for that future map, did you say that planning and zoning already has it?
Yeah, so they have a high level. They had gone through at least 2 meetings that I know of. They had gone through and kind of like circled or highlighted areas that future use, things like I don't want to say like an industrial zone or a riparian conservation zone might be relevant, but they didn't. And they wanted to reiterate, they are not proposing any current zoning changes to anything within the incorporated boundaries. They are merely saying, if and when zoning is evaluated again, this would kind of be a place to start. So,
Yeah. And they already have that completed.
Yeah, it's a beautiful work of art that I need to kind of move into something a little bit more how do I say this, presentable. It is very well done. I just need to kind of get into a formal tool. They were kind of using like draw functions. So it's a little messy. So I have not yet gotten to do it. So that's on me. But I will make sure that that is shared with folks, hopefully by the end of the week.
Well, thank you, planning and zoning.
Oh,
Awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
So does anybody have any questions about what Aaron has said or what the process will be? We'll do the public hearing, take the public comment and try to wrap this up by the end of the year, hopefully in November. And I do want to emphasize there are no zone changes. So this does not have to become public hearings over what zone each of us are in and what we want to do with it or where we think we're going. Right now, where everybody is where everybody's staying. So Linda was,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I had a question about, it separates water rights and secondary water rights. And yeah, I brought when I was on the strategic planning with Bluff Water Works, I brought up, the state doesn't separate the two kinds of water rights. There's just water rights.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely an area I would like help with. And if you select off of the nice clean view, I got a lot of questions and highlights in there. So I would very much appreciate someone who knows far more about water to update that. There wasn't much in the original one, but I think that now we have quite a lot more information. So that would be a great place to have some additional hands-on.
So basically we have 500 acre feet and we can take it out of artesian water or the river water. It doesn't, we can do it. If something happened to the artesian water, we could start taking it out of the river. So, so my understanding is it's just water rights.
and I think that that's one reason everybody should go through and take a look at what your general knowledge is, what you can back up, and get this to. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, but probably have a work session on the general plan itself, because there's so much to it before we put it on a meeting to vote. So we'll have a public hearing, be ready to make your suggestions and put in your information. Anybody can talk to Aaron or planning and zoning about what their additional information might be. Anyone else?
I just have a comment about the zoning and the map that they made, pointing out different zones for the future. Just that's what zoning is it is a flexible tool. So it can be changed in the future, but this is what we have now.
Right, but so Lou, the reason Aaron emphasized it and I emphasized it, if you sat through any of San Juan County's public hearing on their planning and zoning this last year, it was a zoo. It was a complete zoo because they were changing zones. So I don't want people thinking they're going to come to the public hearing and talk about they're in residential 1 and I want to move to commercial 2 because I want to blah, blah, blah. This is not what this is about. This document's being amended in large part to put in pieces of mandated legislative things that we didn't have because those weren't out there yet. And then to revise and add to what our general plan was in 2019 versus where we are in 2025.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm just like having that map in there will cause some confusion. So just sort of so that everybody here understands at least that those are projected, they're not determined, they're projected zones. And
okay, so October 28th, everybody bring your toothbrushes to the community center. We will have sleeping bags and mats for you. All right, then that was a lot of work and thank you. I have no idea how much time you all spent on it, but just to look at those individual pieces, it was literally a day of reading, but they're all really great revision suggestions. So moving to number 3.
Can I pause you so I can restart the recorder?
Okay, it is 5:07.
Oops. Okay, I'm gonna hit record again. Okay, thank you.
It's still 5:07. I should say PM. Updates on strategic planning tasks. So this is our monthly check-in on where we are, who's doing what. Who would like to start?
I can start. I would say one of the things that we've done to structure the whole town and moving it forward are these tasks that Erin gave us to say what we do on each of our jobs, to know who to contact and all of that kind of thing. I think that was a good step forward. And I don't have any update on active transportation. Nothing's changed.
Well, that's a good comment, Lou, because of succession planning, I think we all felt that it was very beneficial. And I didn't realize how many contacts that I just have stored that people may or may not have. So it was helpful to me to spend the time going through and listing like, oh yeah, I work with this agency and who's the person, and person will change, but at least it'll be out there that there was an agency and somebody we worked with, and that'll give the next round of people a starting point. Who else would like to report?
Yeah, I can go because mine's pretty quick. Nothing much has changed with anything I've been working on either. Still need to set aside time with Ann to talk about Soul Source, Aquifer. But other than that, nothing's really changed over the last month. Nothing with the wood bank or anything. So
Brett, we did have a question today as we were driving to Salt Lake, and how does one go about contacting to get wood from the wood bank? Are we working strictly through Herbert, or are we working through you?
yeah, for right now, I think the plan is to work through Herbert. And we're basically, until we get built up on stock and have like a better plan on how we would distribute that stock, we're basically going to operate as like an overflow facility for Red Mesa, because they get people who go through their system and prove that they need it and all that stuff, but they might come too late, might be an elder or something like that, and they might be out of wood. We'll work with them for this year. Next year, I'd like to have something set up to where we have our own distribution plan, but we don't have quite enough to justify doing that just yet. So yeah, this year through Herbert would be great. Why don't we keep building it?
Okay.
And if anybody wants to volunteer with Herbert, it sounds like there's a lot of need over at the Red Mesa Bank, cutting wood and things like that. I did reach out to Tara about, not Tara, what's the lady that runs San Juan Economic Development?
Talia.
Yeah.
Talia, I was close, damn.
Yeah.
Talia, I did reach out to her. She's been working to try to get us a wood splitter and some chaps and things like that for people that would be working on wood, but a couple of wood splitters. She's trying to help us get that, but I haven't checked on where that's gone so far. Yeah, that's it for me.
Well, I've started going through files to remove things that have expired, so to speak, under grandma, and other just update things so that things that aren't really relevant aren't in there. They're in a different area.
Well, we have a playground update that you'll hear about in the next quick meeting after this one, but we're getting really close on getting the playground approval approved. And then we can start spending some of that money. And with the CCC, we are still waiting from the architects to get our final plans set in. Believe that we're waiting on some hiccups with the engineer or the HVAC engineers at this point in time. So that's
Yeah.
getting close as well.
Yeah, strong work to Aaron and Malia for getting the price on some of that confusion down.
Yeah.
To very palatable as opposed to what they first offered. So
Yeah,
good work.
definitely.
I
And that's where I am with those two.
kind of assume if there's a change in the pricing that will come back to council before any decision is made and conveyed or paid.
It's low.
I'm assuming it's an increase in the price.
It's an increase in the price, but it's only, is it 1,900? How much is it?
Yeah, it's somewhere, it's under 2,000.
Yeah, it's like $1,900.
Say that again, please, Aaron.
It's $1,950.
Wow.
They were
From
wanting about 50,000 more, and we said, wait, stop.
Good job. Okay, Jen, anything else from you?
Nope, I think
So-
that's it on me.
Sorry, Ann, do we need to bring that 1,900 back to council, or are we good to go with just that small increase on this overall package?
I don't think the increase so much as that has to be approved. It's just a payment.
The
Yeah.
payment. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
No, Erin kind of summarized it to me. I'm glad that she did because the first number was like, so yeah, good work on getting it down. So I think I've probably given you as much of an update as I can on where I am with the cemetery, which I kind of treat as a green space spot that's in our strategic plan. And then the succession planning, which we've all known we needed to be doing. And so I spent a fair amount of time trying to put as much down on paper as I could. And because I took extended time out of town and Britt as well before me, we just haven't had time to connect to sit down with Sole Source, but I think in the next few days we'll have some time. And like I said, we do have a draft application. We just need to we need to go through it and add some things, move some things around, but
Might just be racing to a red light with the government shutdown anyways at the
Yeah.
moment. So
yeah, it's a really good point. Probably not even the contact person's probably not working because
not
they're,
often.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay, anybody have anything else? Aaron's working on, between Aaron and Malia, working on pretty much everybody's project.
Do either of them have some specific things that they want to bring to our attention is my question.
Our homework was due,
Oh, shit.
by an hour and 15 minutes ago was our due date, our deadline.
Oops.
I've seen a
And then
lot
I
of
work-
them.
Sorry, my dog ate mine. I will get that to you immediately.
You don't have a dog. You don't like dogs.
I'll give you my dog. She's real good at eating checks and homework. So no, you guys really hit on a lot. So the succession planning activities and future use of those documents really lean into the complete first section of the strategic plan. So it is nice that we're all kind of working on that together. And in terms of organizational development, a lot of that will also lead into improved job descriptions and having those SOPs and, really just ensuring the continuity of the business. If one or multiple people leave the organization can continue to run. So Really excited to see that moving. I would also highlight that I see Michael Havokin's on. There's been a lot of work done by Michael as well as the roads department to really develop that department. And so having the operations manual and everything, I just really want to highlight his work as well as Thomas's, our intern's work, in getting that started. And it's exciting to be able to utilize that method in other areas. So Jim Hook, as the airport manager, he's kind of using that as a template to start on his work. And so all of this will be able to be a standardized method for each of our departments. And I don't want to say it'll get easier each time, but it's really nice to have kind of these expectations laid out and, understanding the importance of that. We also talked a lot also about like an organizational chart, and we had a very early session of that. So I'm excited to bring back that on something that we can look at as less moving paper around and more concrete to kind of get a finalized view of what the future town of Bluff can look like, as well as, then pairing those job descriptions under each of those departments. So excellent work across the board. And it was a really great step forward. I would also say that from an emergency preparedness and community health and welfare and safety standpoint, a lot of work is being done across the board, but specifically with the fire department and the emergency plans and collaborating with wildfire. And I think even just with the tornadoes that struck down, it feels to me like there have been improved communications with San Juan County, and so we're better understanding their capabilities and our capabilities. So I think that's been great.
I want to echo that with, the possible flash flood potential that we had last weekend, which didn't pan out. I just felt like there was a lot of information going across the board with everybody who needed to be involved. So it was nice to see that camaraderie working together.
Agreed.
It was also a pretty good example with the tree on Mulberry that went down, the tree limb in Mulberry that went down, and the fast response that we got, not just from Rocky Mountain Power, but with Aaron jumping in, and then Antonio and Helgerson, and people really getting together to get that tree out and get the power restored, and then the tree out. That tree limb, I keep saying tree. It looked like a tree. It
could have been a tree. It was huge.
And so thanks for all the work on that. Anything else on strategic planning? If not, we'll move to a quick report on Utah League of Cities and Towns annual conference. Malia Collins, Linda Sosa, and I went to that, and we spent a couple days in Salt Lake City. So Linda or Malia, you want to talk about what you took back from this? Was it useful?
I'll start. Yes, it was very useful. I attended 3 days. I did the conference for the first and second, and then the conflict competence on the third day. And there's definitely, I attended an ADA rule for towns, and I thought it was going to be for facilities, but it turns out there's a new ADA rule for websites that we have to be in compliance by April of 2027. So Aaron, I'll work with you on this. It was a very scary couple of hours for me. It's for municipalities as well as special service districts. So any of our special service districts will also need to comply. Thankfully, we are not state. Otherwise, we would only have until April of 26. That was one of the main points of the first day I was there. The second day was planning day. It was a housing day, and I made a lot of really good connections. But one of the portions I attended, one of the meetings I attended was about housing authorities. And it made me wonder if we are connected at all with the Southeast Utah Housing Authority, or if we have any sort of agreements, because I got onto their website and they have a lot of information for Moab, Monticello, and Blanding, but there wasn't anything on Bluff. So I would be curious about contacting them, because even just on those other municipalities, it was this isn't a space that's for rent. So it might just be a good way for anyone who is coming into Bluff, if they're looking for somewhere to stay and they're not on our email list. just something that we could get things posted to or something. The conflict competence, day 3, so good. I learned so many things from it, and I think that it would be really good for council as well as county commissioners and BLM, and just like something that could be really good for countywide, everyone to attend, just for a common language to discuss conflict.
Okay, I have something beeping in my room. I am going to mute myself for a minute.
I love it when the previous resident of the room sets an alarm for some weird time, like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
or 5:22.
Never
I
thought
don't think I
about it.
That's a
have an
great
alarm
idea.
clock in my room.
So thank you guys for sending me. It was a really good time. Happy to go.
Yeah.
There were so many times that I felt FOMO. I was like, I shouldn't be in this one. I should be in that one. Oh no. So I did leave once, and I think it was a good choice. But
And thank
there's
you for
so,
going on your birthday too. That was very nice of you.
oh yes, like I just spent my birthday in the city. I went out to dinner twice.
Nice.
Oh, no, the best part is you wrangled free desserts at both dinners from the restaurant.
Perfect. Does that mean
Yes,
you had to endure 2 birthday embarrassment songs?
No songs. They were fancy enough that they didn't sing.
Ooh.
Mhm.
So
So
Linda,
this,
yeah, go ahead.
I think this is I don't remember if this is the third or fourth time I've gone, but it always is really encouraging. Every time there's more rural issue things. I mean, there's problems that rural communities have, funding, you connect with people. I had some questions about things that are going on in Bluff, and so I found people up there who had background on it. I think too, when several of us go, it really reinforces what we're seeing because we talk about it together. And so I would definitely encourage everyone going to this at least sometime. It's definitely worth it.
So I would agree that this is something that the incoming council members and the ones that are staying should really target. There's a half-year annual conference in April as well. So if you didn't feel like the timing in an October conference for the annual was good use of your time, there is the half year. I think the most telling thing is that Malia is becoming a puppy farm and almost brought back all the puppies that best friends had, which is really sneaky to have puppies at an event. Was just pathetic.
All you have to do is send her a picture of Maggie to remind her why that's not a good idea.
Oh, yep.
Send her a Spencer.
And I think the networking is invaluable. We stopped at the table, I think, individually and talked to the people at the playground that got the grant. Had a couple quick conversations with, some of the people who are on the board of Utah League of Cities and Towns. Something that's really important that I was not able to accomplish while I've been on the council, and I really would encourage the next set of folks. We have 2 voting seats that vote on policy and elect the president, the president-elect, that votes on a number of things at the annual conference. And then throughout the legislative year, there's the opportunity to vote on, like, okay, somebody wants to pass legislation on towns have to have a low to moderate income housing plan. So you can vote on whether you think that's a good use of the league's time or not. We've never exercised those votes except at the annual conference. And I think it would be really important for somebody to take on talking to the league about exactly how this works. Logan Munson, who was the mayor of Blanding, who's now our representative, he's a very good resource. He's been super active. And I know that he can help it get kind of get a jump start on it and after the new council sworn in. And the same thing is true for the Utah League of Cities and Towns. I wish that I'd had the time to apply to sit on the board. There was just no way. Now they are doing more virtual meetings, and that might be something someone could take on. But you can actually, get somebody on the board to help make those changes. So.
You were interviewed, you got to sit on stage.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting because it was a high stool, higher than me, and I had to pull myself up on it, and then the fear was getting off that the stool would tip. Now, yes, I've had a lot of bar stool experiences, but not in front of 300 or 400 people. So I didn't embarrass us by falling off. But thanks for the support, Linda and Malia.
You did a fabulous job.
Could I just make a quick comment on them in general?
Yes.
Well, I remember a few years back, well, it's probably been 5 or 6, maybe even longer, at one of the conferences, one of the things they fought for was to not require every small town to put all of their meetings online. And it was before it was that accessible. So they do a lot with the legislature. They do a lot with the town leaders and things. So it's a good connection to keep going. And they do some shorter trainings locally. A lot of times you can get on them, and those are always helpful. And we did use the YouTube, and we carried on with it regardless, because now the technology is here, and that's why we set it up, is so that everybody could attend and whatnot, but it was going to be an absolute requirement.
So it's 5:29. Does anybody have another, or shall we adjourn and move into the special meeting?
I have 2 others.
Go for it.
The first is an FY, I guess they're both FYIs. On the 16th, so Thursday, the sheriff's department is going to be training at the CCC all day, so don't panic when you see vehicles there. And then tomorrow, there's going to be a flu drive here at the community center that starts at 9 a.m. and is going until they are out. It's going to be in the parking lot, hosted by UNHS.
And Thursday night is the planning and zoning work session, and also the start of the arts festival.
Tomorrow night is the Dark Sky Ambassador thing again, I think.
Yep.
Unless it's super cloudy. Or probably even if it is super cloudy, they'll do something else.
Okay, any other? It's 5:30 p.m.
Motion to adjourn and move into special meetings.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then it's unanimous. We'll turn the recorder off and take 2 minutes and then come back. We've got a pretty short agenda for the special meeting. And can we all just stay on our computers and mute ourselves?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it. Is that okay with the YouTube, Aaron? To just mute, or do I need to start a new one?
I'd start a new one just so you can relabel it or someone can go in and relabel it.